Good evening. My name is Taylor Bright. This evening I'm representing a consulting group in town called Scholar Nexus. I'll talk a little bit about Scholar Nexus here in a minute. I completed my graduate degree in the Biomedical Sciences program at UCSD. And about 6 months before I finished my degree, I decided that what I wanted to do next was I wanted to learn how to get technologies out of universities. And so about August of 2012, I started submitted my first SBIR before I got my PhD, which wasn't the greatest idea according to the reviewers, but we started there and kind of moved forward. And so in writing that first grant, that's where I met up with this group, Scholar Nexus. And so basically, Scholar Nexus is composed of 5 consultants in town, all of whom are some way related to UCSD. Most of us are graduate alumni. And the whole focus of the group is to bring technology out of universities. That's our goal. Predominantly UCSD, but we've worked with institutions across the country. And so what we allow to do is we allow for what we call an instant company, where you can either launch either within or supported by Scholar Nexus. So there's wet and dry lab space, engineering space, office space, and more importantly, for a lot of people coming right out of academia, there's access to a lot of experts on the accounting, legal side to kind of help things get started. Martin had mentioned the idea of getting everything registered in time for an SBIR. A lot of companies will come to us and say, hey, I want to submit an SBIR on Friday, essentially, less than a week. And so with a group like Scholar Nexus, we have all the registrations set up. And so you submit your first grant through us, and then we can eventually spin you out. And so over the last couple of years, we've raised over $10 million in SBIR awards for a number of different companies, which I'll show you briefly at the end. So just real quick, I wanted to hit a couple things that we've kind of gleaned throughout the years. I want to definitely echo something that Martin said in the beginning. Talk with your program officer early and often. Sometimes they have different names. Program officer is the NIH name for who you're looking for. But we spoke with our program officer, I believe, the last SBIR conference in October up in Seattle. And she made the comment that over 50% of all SBIR phase 1s that she gives out, she never hears from the company again. And so that's not her goal. She's out there to give money to companies who are ready to commercialize. And so if she's not hearing from half of them, that's a lot of extra money that she would like to go to companies that are being successful. And so companies that I've worked with directly and other Scholar Nexus companies have been directly benefited from knowing your program officer. We'll have scores that are not nearly in the fundable range. And the PO calls you up and says, hey, I want to bring you up. I want to fund you. I like your project. So it's very beneficial. Also, understand your review group. Again, predominantly where we get funded is NIH. So Center for Scientific Review runs all the review groups. Other groups, NSF have their own systems. But know how you're going to get reviewed. On the NIH side, you want to stay as far away from generic review as possible. You want to get into an institute that wants your technology and is actually interested in your technology, not that you have to educate a bunch of reviewers every time you go in. So those are 2 things you'll kind of hear. Those are advice that I give to anyone writing NIH grants, whether you're an R01 in academia or you're doing SBIRs. Little SBIR specific, it's very important to understand and know how to manipulate the indirect expense rate. When you're in academia, indirects are very transparent. UCSD has a vision for what they want those indirects to go to, and the PIs don't usually see, other than they see a good chunk of money going away to the institution. In the SBIR realm, the indirects allow you to work on your business, not for your business. If you want to become more than just a single project, if you want to be a real company, you have to know how to work your indirects. For NIH phase 1, the indirect rate's 40%, but after that, you can negotiate up to 60, 70, 80%, depending on if you can make the case to NIH in this case. So this is a very important thing to learn. You can always send it out to consultants, but if you really want this to be a company and not a project, you really need to understand this. And the other thing is, unlike academia, results do matter, but the process matters more. We don't need one-off results. If you're going to commercialize the technology, it has to work over and over again as you move it into the market. And so the focus is much more on the process than it is on a phenomenological result. And we can get into argument and discussion over what they're seeing in academia these days, but when you bring it out, you have to have your process locked up. And so here's just a selection of UCSD spin-out companies that are currently working with Scholar Nexus, ranging from a biomedical cell sorting device to genomic technologies to a therapeutic play to diagnostics. And so we do lots of different things, and the SBIRs have been great. Of these companies, only the top one has finally gone and done private funding. Everyone else has been funded completely by non-dilutive federal funds, which really gives you a leg up in moving technology forward. And so happy to talk about any of the concepts I mentioned here further on the panel, and thank you for your time.